All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Suki, would you like to do roll call?
Sure.
Ms. Balderota,
Here.
Ms. Balahi,
Here.
Mr. Kleiss,
Here.
Ms. Corris,
Here.
Mr. Miles,
Here.
Mr. Shetty is excused, Ms. Wu.
Here.
Okay. Okay, and then we will move on to the approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Good. Okay, and now we will move on to additions to the agenda. Are there any additions? Oh, sorry, okay. On the minutes? Okay. All in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, additions to the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay. So we will now move on to public input. Is there, what? Would anybody like to address the board?
This is what we were asked to come for, the suggestions, you mean?
Yes, if there is anybody that would like to approach and speak to the board, this would be the time to do it.
It's a required part of all public meetings, but the exercise that you're referring to, we'll enter into that after the public comment period, but we're required by the Open Meeting Act to always offer public comment, so you have this opportunity as well.
Okay. So if there's no public input at this time, we will move on to presentations. So first up, we have Mayor Diane Marlin, who would like to speak.
Okay, thanks. Good to be here again. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of what you'll be doing later on today, which is helping with the envisioning initiative that we've launched for the entire Lincoln Square site. As you know, it's called What's in Your Square. And one of the key places in our downtown is the Lincoln Square area, and the farmers market is a big part of that. So we're talking about the 16-acre, 9-square block site right across the street. It includes the Landmark Hotel, it includes the Lincoln Square Mall, and then about 8 acres of publicly owned surface parking lot, and part of that is used for the market, of course, every Saturday. We're looking at how to really enhance the vibrancy of the site, to increase the activity on the site, especially how we can better utilize all the surface parking area, the geography over there. About half of the land area is actually owned by the public. And really how to just position ourselves with that area to grow for the next few decades. When Lincoln Square was built about 50 years ago, it was forward thinking, it was the latest thing, and it was really a destination for many years. And we would like to see that happen again. So why are we doing it now? People have asked. Well, the site is really at a crossroads. And again, we're talking about the entire site, the 9 square blocks. Number one, the hotel is closed and for sale again, and that's about the 4th time since 2000. The Lincoln Square Mall is currently experiencing a turnover in its commercial office space. Health Alliance and Carl HR has moved, or will be just about moved out next month, and there's about 100,000 square feet of office space that needs to be refilled. And Mr. Webster is working very hard to do that. But you know, there's a transition there. The MCOR transportation project that's underway on campus, it's rebuilding Green Street plus several other streets in campus, is going to extend all the way down Green Street to literally the doorstep of Lincoln Square. The last phase of the MCOR project is going to rebuild Green from Busey Street to Ray Street. So that means Green Street's going to become really the main connector between campus and our downtown, and thousands of people who are on Lincoln Avenue that will be one of the main connector to our downtown. So it's really important that we have something vibrant and enticing to get people to come and to come back. And that's another reason to start looking at the property that we own over here and the site as a whole and how it interacts with our downtown. And really, it is the heart of our downtown. And that's what makes it very important. And the public has always been very deeply, I think, invested in the site. Not only a lot of money has been invested, public dollars has been invested over the years, starting from the day the hotel was built in the 20s to when the mall was built, and then going forward from there. But it's the topic that, as I was knocking on doors over the last, well, it's been over a year ago now, but that's the one topic that was raised more often than any else is, what do we do with Lincoln Square? What's going to happen with Lincoln Square? What's going to happen with the hotel? People care about this site. So it really got me to thinking that it's time to start looking at this site as a whole and how we want it to function in the future. So, you know, people have said housing and entertainment options and more activity, and, you know, the ideas are pouring out. So we decided to launch a visioning effort to capture all these ideas and suggestions as the beginning for thinking about what this site how the site will look in the future. And that's what's in your square is all about. So you'll have a chance to participate in that today. So again, strategic location, the heart of our downtown. How do we make it the best it can be? So, and I appreciate very much your help in this.
Thanks, Mayor Marlin. Just a reminder to everyone, Chris Marks, our city planner, is going to lead this activity. There's a few different steps to it, so you'll kind of be asked to get up and move around. We want to make sure your comfort is important, that you're comfortable in this process, so we might be moving some furniture around. Just let us know how we can make you comfortable. Please know that, as the mayor was saying, this is a vision for a full 9-block area, but that, of course, includes our market. We do intend to do some more deliberate planning around the ideal future for our market, and that's going to be a separate process that's going to be handled by the advisory board, and we're going to talk a little more about that after this exercise. But please do feel free to talk as much or as little about the market itself in this activity. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to briefly play a short intro that we've been doing at all the other groups, and even though Mayor Marlin just spoke, I think this is a nice way to kick off the exercise.
Look around the community. Everything you see started as someone's idea. So today, we're inviting you to start something big in downtown Urbana. So tell us what you'd like to see and do in downtown Urbana, in the area known as Lincoln Square. How would you transform the 9 square blocks into something that will serve our community going forward? Bold projects start with big ideas and a vision for the future. So tell us, what's in your square? We're listening.
Every day we roll it up, yeah, we get it back. We do not put, we got the is on fact.
Gotta love YouTube. So the mayor already touched upon lots of, you know, what I have usually been mentioning at the beginning of this exercise. You know, this is a property that stretches for a large stretch of our downtown. It's both a private property owned by the mall owners and whoever the hotel owner is, as well as a lot of the public parking spaces which are owned by the city. So this is a collaboration between Jim Webster, the owner of the mall, as well as members of city staff, and not just community development, that also members of public works and other departments to re-energize this space and think of what its potential is. What we were wanting to do is just reach as many community groups as possible, as many members of people that live in Urbana, that work or have activities here, and obviously the market being one of those significant groups that not only is part of Urbana but uses the square on a weekly basis in the spring and summer, early fall as well.
Can I jump in? And I think of the market as being the example of the kind of vibrancy that can be at this site. If you're looking, when we've gotten over 1,100 responses to our survey, and the farmers market is the largest reason that people come to Lincoln Square based on the survey respondents, and with 3,000 to 5,000 people every Saturday. So you look at the market as an example of bringing people here, and you think, well, why can't we do the same thing the other 6.5 days of the week? And so the farmers market and the amount of, and we've all invested a huge amount of time and effort and money into the market. That's the kind of vibrancy that I think we can strive for, at least part of the time during the rest of the week.
So just a few facts to point out. The mall was constructed in 1964, one of the first enclosed indoor malls in the U.S. The hotel was built in 1923 by the noted architect in Urbana, Joseph Royer, Tudor style. It had an addition built in 1982. The mall was added to the Register of Historic Places in 2006. Hotel was bought by a new developer in 2010. It's been closed for the last, I think, 2 or 3 years. Just to give you an idea of the scope of where we are talking about, this includes the mall as well as the hotel and all the parking spaces that are encompassed within the mall. You'll see a few other landmarks that aren't really part of the process because they're pretty well situated and aren't going to be going away anytime soon. That includes the courthouse in the northeast part of the property, the IMC, which is in the old post office, both of the courthouses actually along that stretch. In the west side of the property, there's the beautiful Methodist church and the apartment building next to it. We anticipate those being just the same, but everything that's within this property includes the parking lots, the mall, and they're not, I'm not sure if we're including the parking lots across the street, but basically Elm and Green Streets on the north, Race on the west, Illinois on the south, and then Vine on the east. So does everyone have a pen and paper? Okay. So we're going to get off with the first part of the exercise. I would like you to think about a great place. That could be any place. It could be a public place. It could be private, personal, something that you share with your family, something that you share with your friends. But just a great place, and just think of that one place, the first that comes to mind, and think of some of the thoughts and feelings about that place. What makes it great? What makes it special for you? And what makes it a great place that you'd want to be at. This could be anywhere in the world, for that matter. So at home, at some other state, some other community, or someplace in public. But take just about 2 minutes to do that. Okay, I think that was enough of a chance to do that. Starting with the commission, did anyone care to share an example that they had? Did anyone want to share the place that came to mind and some of the things that make that place special? Any volunteers?
Okay, I'll go ahead. I chose Rocky Mountain National Park, so there's big shoes to fill. I liked it because it was quiet, it's in touch with nature, it's calming. There's just a lot of different landscapes, so there's mountains, there's water, there's valleys, there's animals to watch, you can hike, there's gathering spaces for people if they want. There's also a lot of private areas, it's very spread out, so there we go.
Okay. Did anyone does any of our guests care to share a place that came to mind for them and what made it special? What makes it special?
Sure, the Madison Farmers Market. It has a nice square that it works around, and it has all the food vendors concentrated. And so people can come in and buy their weekly groceries. They can get in and get out. There's also a place for craft vendors and so forth. But the two are really more separate. So people can shop and do what they need to and choose how to spend their day.
Time for one more example. Any volunteers? Well, I think that should be good enough to go off. Or, oh. Go right ahead.
I just picked this kind of square in a town called Dallas in the Netherlands that I really love. It's just a nice gathering spot where lots of people can go, but still feels kind of intimate. Lots of different kinds of cafes and unique spots around it. It has lots of trees. It just doesn't, even though you're right in the center of the city, it feels very kind of small and villagey. So it's just that kind of intimate atmosphere is nice, but being out and about with people.
Wonderful. So the next thing that we are going to do is what we call a cloud, word cloud exercise. We sort of have been calling it a square cloud. And for this exercise, we would like to ask you to think about the entire Lincoln Square area, but also kind of the surrounding area. So sort of the downtown, just a little outside of downtown, just the heart of the city. Think about your great places. Think about, for this first part of the exercise, the 2A part, think about a feeling, a sensation, a sensory experience. What do you want to feel like when you are at the square or at this part of the city? Why don't you write that down and think a few of that. And then for the 2B part, apply that to certain activities. Make it a little less esoteric than the first part, and think about what you would like to see physically being done or see happening there in a more tangible sense. So why don't we take a few minutes, and if you could write those two things down, with the feelings part or the sensory part first, and then the activities part second, and we can go from there. Did everyone have enough time to write down what their thoughts were? In that case, did someone care to share what feelings they'd like to feel at the square and some of the activities within those feelings? Someone from the commission? Thanks.
So in terms of feelings, they are a little contradictory, but I would like for it to be vibrant, to have energy, but also places to be relaxing and open. And some of the things that I thought about were a shaded green space. We don't have any shading down there, which would kind of give you that option to relax, read, eat, communicate, but in more of a private area, but then also having kind of outdoor cafes and restaurants and that kind of vibrancy. So those are the two.
You could possibly say that those aren't mutually exclusive qualities either, so contradictory but not opposing. Did anyone in the guest section care to share one?
I agree with Ms. Cal that it should be safe and relaxing, a place for families to come. But as far as visually speaking, I feel like it should be visually appealing without getting too many tax dollars. And also using natural elements in farmers markets there. And farmers markets are about farmers and growing things, some natural elements that people can enjoy and see. Good idea.
Did one more person care to share what they wrote down?
I put that I want it to feel like it's accessible to people, also to be inviting, the places to be diverse, so diversity amongst people, but also diversity amongst businesses, so not bar after bar after bar, or as an example, not to pick on those businesses, but some kind of diversity in business, but I also would love to see those things locally owned instead of all these big corporate places coming. That's what I love about Urbana is that we try and grow local businesses in the area, so keeping that fresh. Love to see the farmers market in that space. I agree about the green space. Right now, like you said, it's parking lots. And I really appreciate the older buildings. Somebody mentioned the mayor mentioned all the new buildings going up in Green Street, and to me that looks like a cement wall going down the path, and I really appreciate us keeping all those older style buildings.
Very nice. Anyone want one last chance to share before we move on to the third step?
I think it should actually be colorful. Right now, when I think about Lincoln Square, I just think about brown. And there needs to be, different colors, something like to add some vibrancy.
All right. So with that said, we're going to move to the third exercise, which is kind of the fun part. We call it mapping our square. We are going to gather together in groups of, I think with how many people, we'll probably have three groups of 5 or 6. So if you all would like to come up towards the center, we can congregate here. We're going to put a map on each table.
Thank you again to everybody for participating in that visioning exercise. All the boards or many relevant boards and commissions have been asked to do this exercise. There's going to be some public opportunities too, so I know this really wasn't a very convenient time for most farmers, but there's going to be some other additional opportunities. Hopefully we're going to do a Saturday afternoon and also some weekday evening, but we'll pass that. I was talking to a couple of the vendors before the meeting to hear suggestions for what times would be good. So in general, we're going to pass those 2 options on to planning staff and encourage them to do that. The process is probably going to culminate in hopefully July, maybe August. There's going to be probably a video, kind of a recap, and the city will sort of report back on what it would like to do with its parking lots. Lincoln Square ownership and the mall ownership will also sort of report separately too, because they are all owned separately. And we're going to talk a little more later on about specifically what the advisory board and how all the vendors and customers of the market too can be involved in some more deliberate planning for the farmers market, as this exercise was not designed for just farmers market. It was designed for the whole 9-block area. But I think it actually brought out a lot of interesting conversation, and it's representative of some of the kinds of things we'd really like to do more intentionally with all of our vendors. So Rachel Storm is the public arts coordinator for the city of Urbana, and she's going to talk a little about the public arts program. And I really should actually hand things back over to the chair. Sorry about that. I jumped right in. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Hi, I'm Rachel Storm. I work as the public arts coordinator, as Brandon said. I'm going to keep it short since you just finished a visioning exercise and maybe are tired. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about sort of what's to come this season for Art at the Market, and then to just beckon you all to be a part of a dialogue with me about what you'd like to see as far as art and performance at the market, how we can make this a great synergy between the vibrancy of the market itself and then continuing to sort of build and grow the things that make it a destination in Urbana. So I had some slides about public art in general, which I'll probably a little bit skip, just for time's sake. But I did want to mention a few things about the public arts program. Number one, we very much like this commission. We're a 9-member advisory commission, and our program is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year, which is really exciting for us. We've had quite a number of different programs over the years, and I'm going to go over them really briefly because I would like to, and I'm happy to send anyone interested in seeing this presentation, happy to send it along to you later. These are our advisory members right now. Our chair is Pat Salmon. I'm going to go over a little bit of our programs. I'm going to skip these slides, to be honest. But it just talks a little bit about the value of public arts in terms of the thing that brings to our community, things like creativity and innovation, community integration, celebrating of diverse cultures in the area. I always think of the arts as a language that we all speak. We may have a lot of other sorts of differences, but the arts are usually a way that we can kind of transcend a lot of those. And of course, the arts mean business. It means economic development. This is a quote from a person in town, Elizabeth Simpson. The program has made many beautiful things happen by supporting and leveraging local artists, and in doing so has really enriched our community. We're really excited to be celebrating 10 years, and for me, I came into this position in August, and one of the things that I've been really excited to really continue to grow is our Art at the Market. And so I wanted to connect with all of you and with the commission to talk a little bit more about what you'd like to see. I do want to mention a few things that have been some accomplishments of this past year. We've funded more Urbana Arts grants in 2018 than any other previous year. What's exciting about that is that some of these things will be things that exist maybe around the market, concurrent with the market, in your downtown space and in other spaces where you frequent. We have things like public art projects that are going to be going on in terms of things like chainsaw carving demonstrations. We've got performances in the outdoors. We've got kind of mobile art museums that'll be moving around Urbana. We have a little mobile art museum that'll be moving around. We've kind of got a feature of each of these on our website and our social media accounts. So if you want to see every project, there's 35 of them that have been funded for this year. You can check those out online. But really quite a wonderful lineup of things that were also funded through the program. Our grant program is one of the kind of things I think the public arts program is most known for, but we do have quite a number of other programs as well. This year we also added Art in the Square, so if any of you were at the farmers market when it goes indoors, we also had some performances there on a stage indoors in partnership with the Urbana Business Association. We've worked to kind of feature more diversity from the creative sector on our Art Now episode. So that means while we've had a wonderful repertoire of largely visual artists featured on Art Now, we've really worked to feature poets and performance artists and theater makers and dancers and quite a number of different types of arts on that series as well. And if you're unfamiliar, that is a mini documentary series that airs every Monday and with reruns on Tuesday on UPTV Channel 6, but also online on YouTube under Urbana Public Television. We've also added Artists of the Corridor receptions. We received an award for Art Now, and that was received by Urbana Public Television. And we also received a National Endowment of the Arts grant this past year to fund something called Open Scene, which was really working to sort of diversify our downtown art scene, to really center youth voices envisioning what they'd like to see in our art scene downtown. But I want to go over some of our programs just really quickly, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's to come for the market this year. So I mentioned things like our arts grants. We also have Arts in the Schools grants, Art in the Market, which I'll talk about today. Our Artists of the Corridor exhibits are the exhibits that are held here at City Hall and also at the Urbana Free Library, so it's a dual site exhibit. So if you or someone you know, or even a bunch of farmers want to get together and take pictures of the farmers market, I think this actually happened before as one of the Artists of the Corridor exhibits, you can do that again and kind of be part of an exhibit, but it's all Urbana area artists or art centering Urbana. And we also have the Urbana Sculpture Project that's actually going on right now. So if you know anyone who makes sculpture work, encourage them to submit through the Public Art League's website. We select sculptures. It closes on June 1st. We'll select on June 14th, and we'll announce on June 15th. Murals on Glass is also the project that puts a lot of digital images of people's artwork, so you don't actually have to be a muralist to have your work on a building, a municipal building in the downtown area. This year we installed 2. One is here on the city building, Beth Darling's Hosta Takeover, which also celebrates local gardens, and South Farm Number 9, which celebrates South Farm Number 9 in Urbana, and that comes from Kelly Hieronymus, and that's on our Phillips Recreation Center. We also have an event called Urbana Celebrates the Boneyard, which is part of Boneyard Arts Festival, but that was held recently down in the Boneyard Creek Crossing area. Gave me a lot of ideas when I was down there of how to really program that area a little bit more. I would like to see more markets and things even down there on off days, you know, when there isn't a farmer's market. Art Expo is our other annual fine arts sale and exhibition, and we have things like our Open Scene, which is actually going to be turning into Open Scene open mics in the downtown area this summer, and a program called the Young Artist Studio held with the Children's Library at Urbana Free Library, as well as some performance in the parks happening this summer too. So that brings us to Art at the Market. This is actually a picture from last Saturday when we had Tim Ballou playing. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what's to come. So first of all, by the end of this season, we will have had 60 performances and 60 workshops over the years for Art in the Market. So that's since 2009 as part of that series. It's sponsored by the Urbana Public Arts Program in collaboration with Urbana's Market at the Square. And it's really designed to have both a performance and some sort of arts workshop happening at the same time. So this year we have quite a lineup, and I want to just go over what to expect. These happen every second Saturday of the month. You'll notice, of course, and I'm sure all of you have, that there's lots of activity on any other Saturdays. So it's not, but the ones that are on the second Saturday of the month are sponsored by the Urbana Public Arts Program, and they feature those 2 elements. So our 2018 season schedule. Our first was, as I said, Tim Ballou, which was a salsa band, and Coop Adventure Play, which is really children being invited to play with raw materials and build their own nature and adventure playscape, which was really fun. And you might have seen them last Saturday, kind of over on the Walnut Street side. You might have noticed also last Saturday that we added a stage, and our performances have typically just happened under a tent, but the idea is to really both sort of figuratively and literally elevate the performances. And I did a lot of research in looking at other farmers markets in other cities that have really incorporated the arts as well. Saw that some of the things like stages and things that help kind of create gathering areas, we added some more tables and chairs over there for people to gather on the Walnut Street side. But really wanting to explore a little bit of that with all of you too. On June, that'll be June 9th, we'll have Desafinado and Weiskamp Screen Printing. And they'll be performing some Brazilian music, and Weiskamp will be kind of doing DIY screen printing with kids and families. On July, we'll have Jean-René Beliquita, and he'll be singing. He has a sort of a mixture of African gospel and now it's escaping me. He is sort of a fusion performance that draws from lots of different genres, and it's really wonderful. He's also a guest in residence right now at the Robert E. Brown World Music Center on campus. And then the Center for Latin American and Caribbean Studies and La Casa Cultural Latina will be offering a papel picado workshop where people will be able to sort of make cutout paper. We also, in August, will have Bone Jugs performing. They do some ragtime, Americana, and use bones and jugs and various other wonderful raw materials. And we'll have veggie art from the Land Connection. So this is an example. We haven't quite decided exactly what, but veggie art could be vegetable stamping, for instance. In September, we'll have West African Drum and Dance. The CU West African Drum and Dance celebrates West African dance. They meet every Sunday at the Channing Murray Foundation for classes, but they'll be doing a kind of drum performance and dance, which will also invite the community to dance with them, and the Idea Store will be leading something on recycled art. In October, we'll have a performance from Mean Lids. They do playful music, drawing from lots of folk traditions, and we may have the Urbana Country Dancers out with us that day, as well as Melissa's Monsters, she's a local business owner who makes these adorable little monsters, and youth will be able to make those and take one home as well. This is also a kind of a Halloween celebration. We've got Mean Lids and Monsters, so hopefully that will go well. But that's really the schedule for this year. And I wanted to come to share that with you, to also hear from you other things that you'd like to see as we're trying to kind of experiment with both the stage and kind of where things are located, as well as things like low amplification and some support in that direction and understanding what you would like to see there. So I invite questions, comments, or anything from all of you here on the commission, and I suppose anyone who's joining us today too. Yeah.
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
So you are in charge of doing it's twice a month?
Once a month.
Once a month at the
Second
market.
Saturday of the month.
Okay. So who did the a cappella?
Technically, it's Brian.
So Brian did the a cappella. Okay.
Right. So people approach our market director all the time with questions of what else can be there, and we want to come or bring this group or that group or that group. And I think, Brian works very hard to try to accommodate them as much as possible. My schedule's set for the season, but I do also keep a list of people interested for next season.
Great.
Or even the indoor markets, if that continues.
Yeah, right. So I guess I want to say that I'm really enjoying the quality of the musicians, and I think it's a great addition, and I saw so many people enjoying that last week, dancing and having a good time, and it was awesome. You're doing a great job. I mean, the a cappella was amazing as well. And
they were great. That's Urbana High School's. There's two different a cappella choirs. It's all Becky Park. She's their music teacher.
It was fantastic.
At Urbana High School. Yeah.
So the only comment that I have is, or concern that I have, is the stage breakdown, and some of us, and it won't be us for very long, I guess, but getting our trucks, some of us park our trucks in that area to be able to get out, because we can't get into actual market space, or we'll really block up some other people. So I didn't know what we could negotiate as far as that goes, or how we can make that easier for some of the vendors. But we want.
So how did that go last Saturday? Can I ask?
For me, it went okay. Bob is much smaller this year, so we were able to drive our truck around, which worked out fine, and then parked because he was able to leave. If that wasn't possible, I don't know what we would have done, but we would have been in the way, or we would have had to wait a long time. There's another vendor to my north, and I did not pay attention about how it went for them, because they have a big truck as well. But they left at some point. They waited for a while.
Did they wait for the stage to be broken down? Okay, so that's great. That's really good feedback. That's really helpful for me, and to think about maybe like if the stage could wait to be broken down later, or after everybody's gone, maybe I don't know. So we're exploring some different options, including a more mobile stage on our end, which would actually make everything a lot easier for all of us, but the cost is a little bit more. So we're trying to see what's possible.
And Rachel will, be out at the market, so I encourage you to approach her and kind of let her know how
Yeah.
things are going, and share that with Brian as well, day of, while it's fresh, so we can observe all that. And have to thank our Public Works Department too, because they actually really contributed more resources to the market in assisting that. And it was also their first time, so hopefully through repetition, they're going to learn to do it faster and better, but we definitely want that feedback.
Yeah, it was their first time using that stage. But I would like it to be I would like it to be a happy marriage for vendors at the market and the public arts program. So please, keep an open dialogue with me about what would be most helpful, but I'll think about that. Was it primarily the end of the day or earlier as well?
For us, it was the end of the day, something we had to consider. It didn't affect us in the beginning of the day, but I'm not sure about the other vendor.
Mm-hmm.
And I will encourage him to approach you and try
please
and work something out as well.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions or comments?
Can the back make a comment?
I would love if you made a comment.
In the past, noise has been an issue.
Yeah.
And made it difficult to hear our customers, because we're right next to that
Exactly
space. And
right.
so whether it's been the blood bank and their generator or anything like that, so some way to,
So how was it last Saturday?
you'd have to ask Shay, because I'm retiring.
On the stage and the speakers were pointing in the other direction, so
Intentionally.
yeah, exactly. So I felt it was okay. I could talk to my other staff. None of my employees said, "Oh, I can't hear anything."
Yeah.
So I think it pointed in that direction. Works out okay.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I really want to think this through. That was one of the questions that came up because we did a low amplification for the first time. I did walk around, I think, to a few of you and let you know in advance, but I did, we kept it very low. I think at a certain point they experimented with turning it up just a little. I would love to hear if there was feedback about any difficulty hearing. I know when I walked around, once I got to even the second row, I couldn't hear it at all. So, sound, it sort of travels and then it stops at the market. But yeah, I would love to hear more from the experience of everybody there, because we want it to be something that draws people to the market and actually increases your sales and everything. Any other comments? All right, thank you. Thank you for your time. And do get in touch with me if you do have any questions. You can find my contact information at urbanaillinois.us/arts. It's right on there. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Brandon?
So to kind of cap off what the process we just went through, I promised we'd kind of return to this, but as you've noticed, there's been a lot of changes at the city, and particularly this visioning process that's citywide and public, I think has really turned into a tremendous opportunity for the farmers market and the advisory board specifically to really dig in and establish a more specific vision for where you'd like to see the farmers market facility go. Who do you want to benefit? Farmers, vendors, patrons, performers. What does that ideal look like? What does the facility itself look like? What are the options you want to see for seating, for performance, for kids' activities, shade, cover, grouping vendors together? I mean, there were so many ideas that just came out of this exercise, and it really, again, wasn't designed for farmers market specifically. So I really look forward to working with the advisory board and with the vendors and also the customers and the public to help the advisory board develop some recommendations along those lines. So while there's a lot that's changing at the market, we've had complete staff turnover. We have a new city administrator coming on board. The city's initiating a facilities study. We have a new financial system we're still a little bit in transition on. And this What's in Your Square process is ongoing. Despite all those changes, our farmers market is strong, and I think this is an opportunity to talk about what makes it great and how do we make it better. So I want to ask the advisory board for your advice on how we're going to plan for the future of that market, what the process is going to look like. And I really need to know what information from each of you is needed for you to form your recommendations as a group. I've spoken with some of the vendors. I've spoken with, I think, all the advisory board members individually at this point. Heard a lot of things just today. And some of the data that we want to make available already would be, we had actually had a parking study downtown, and I haven't had a chance to dig in to see if it says anything about the market on a market day, but I believe the data collection happened in October, so there's a chance it captured some of that. We could also look at additional parking study. Of course, surveying vendors, including what they're selling. I know that's a topic that's come up before. Customer surveys, and we're talking about doing those as day of surveys, actually walking around with a tablet or something to collect that data. Financial data on the market itself. With the new financial system, we're going to be able to provide greater detail than's ever been provided to this advisory board on how the market functions financially. So by the next meeting of this commission that's regularly scheduled, it's an August meeting, the city will have a new financial system, I think fully up and running, a new city administrator. We'll have that What's in Your Square process probably wrapped up, so we'll have all the feedback from the public at that point. We'll have our new advisory board members appointed, so if anybody's still interested, please email Brian, let us know. We're going to send the forms out to everybody who's expressed interest, and then the mayor will make that decision in the coming weeks, and it'll go to council for appointment. But I think as of now, we need 3 new members, I believe. And we'll also have selected the consultant for the city's facility planning project. So that, I think it's going to be over a year-long initiative, and the city's right now in the process of determining the consultant, while the farmers market as a facility isn't really like the main focus of the study, because they're really looking at, mainly how the offices and public safety primarily are being impacted by the city's infrastructure. There's, once again, just like What's in Your Square, there's an opportunity for the farmers market to be a part of that picture and also a part of the planning for the city's investments in infrastructure moving forward. So that's kind of a wrap-up of some of the where we're headed. And again, I really want to ask the board to use this time right now to discuss some of your ideas about how we can best prepare for this planning process and culminate in a deliberate process for the farmers market. And again, in terms of timing, nothing's going to happen quickly from this What's in Your Square process, so we'd be looking ahead, and we want to hear about both short-term changes that we could possibly implement next season, and then the longer-term vision of what would your ideal market be, and how do we get there. So thank you. I'm happy to take questions, but more importantly, I'd love the board to have a discussion on what your thoughts are.
Anyone? Any thoughts? Do you have
So you would like ideas on this year or next year? And what changes us as?
Well, more specifically, what information can staff work to prepare for you for the August meeting that's going to help, start that conversation in earnest? Because we want to do a more deliberate process that's not about the 9-block area, but it's just about the farmers market. We want to have the opportunity to do customer surveys and vendor surveys. And I kind of outlined some ways that we're hoping to collect information right now, but did I miss anything? We had a pretty robust conversation. Is what would you need to know in order to formulate recommendations moving forward? You're going to be able to fill in a lot of detail as we move forward, but I'm just trying to get a sense on a broader scale.
Okay. You had mentioned about doing a survey on the Saturday. I think that'd be a really great idea to know what people are spending their money on. And I think you could just do it either randomly, or one person can do it, with whatever type of device you want to use, a tablet or whatever, and just, ask patrons, what did you come to the market for? Did you come for food trucks? Did you come for your weekly groceries that you're buying, locally produced? I think that then would give us an idea of where their dollar's being spent.
Thank you. And I can't take credit for the idea, but we would like to use methods to make sure that that the data we're collecting is accurate as well, to the extent that we can. I don't know if you want to comment on that as well, Mary Alice, but she knows more about this aspect of it than I do, certainly. But we do hope to draw upon resources. We also have a statistician in the police department, and so we want to make sure it's accurate.
I guess I'll tell you a little bit about my background. So I'm a survey researcher and also run a data analytics group. So this is near and dear to my heart. This is what I do. I collect data all day long. And I think that having a starting point for the farmers market, just kind of getting an understanding of what's happening, and maybe from the growers and the sellers and also the people who are coming and visiting, what do they see as being positives and what do they see as things that we could really work on, I think could help this advisory board come up with a vision for what to be done. And I kind of like to think of what Brendan was talking about, which is there's low-hanging fruit. There's things that we could maybe fix really quickly and say, it might be a good idea to do X, Y, and Z. And there's things that are longer-term goals. And so I think we really can't even start to think about that without getting further input from all the different constituents on that. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, a couple ideas that I have, or things that I think I would want to look at, are like the financial details would be great. Also, maybe finding out what is important to our customer. So when they come to the market, our art's really important to them. Is our vegetables, flower, what is important? Is bike parking important? Those kinds of things, I think would be great.
I come from a background of working with lower income families and community members and looking at social determinants of health and health disparities. And so I think information that would be helpful is everything that you can collect on SNAP use at the market and WIC check use at the market. And I know that transportation is an issue for a lot of people, and so trying to figure out how to get lower income people to the market and being able to use those benefits that they might not be using.
So that might mean us trying to work with, I would assume, some of the agencies that are distributing, like SNAP or WIC, and trying to find ways that we can get information from that specific population. So that's another audience, I guess, that we'd like to have more of.
As far as something that could be maybe implemented more in the closer future, I'm always hearing comments about trash availability. So, people want to hand me their leftover stuff to throw away in our small trash cans, which go back to our farm, but any kind of trash that we can have for customers who are walking and eating, and that would be amazing. Yeah, and I guess sorry, I keep talking, but nobody else is talking, so cut me off at any point. But yeah, I would also really like to do a vendor survey as well to see what's important to our vendors. Is there anything that they need? And and try and overlap those with our customers. And I know we've done that a couple years ago. I don't know if we did that last year, but.
I just want to share, I spoke with Stan, I'm going to mess up his last name, Schutte, is that right? Schutte, just this afternoon, and I just wanted to share, I don't think this is news to anybody, but he had brought up his desire to have a food truck member of this board, and I didn't get the sense that that was something that had been agreed to in the past, so my feeling was that that's going to be a topic for discussion at the August meeting at the earliest, and that we wouldn't be moving forward on that, and I just wanted to kind of check that assumption here, that we're not at the point where we're expecting staff to move forward with that at this time.
Yeah, we've talked about it for the last year and a half.
But
And
it's
that-
never
But
come to the
nothing's
point.
ever.
Okay.
We've had food people, food truck vendors speak, and the ball just never got rolling.
Okay. So, I mean, the data collection that we're seeking to do certainly won't exclude food truck vendors at this time, but we can revisit the topic of representation on this body at a later point. I also wanted to share on Stan's behalf that I believe he's now, I think it's the farmer's market in Bloomington that he's attending, but he is not going to be able to attend these times on a regular basis anymore. In addition, since we're bringing on 3 new members, we will probably want to have a discussion as a board. We'll probably do this by email about finding a time that's most convenient for everyone so we can try to have everyone be involved. So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up that we'll probably be sending out emails once those new members come on. I think we're going to try to get them all at once within a month, and then we'll reschedule with all the board members. So that's going to be another kind of strategic piece. Another option that's available to this group would be to meet more frequently, and we might really need to do that if we're going to do anything deliberate in terms of planning.
Is that all you had? Okay, all right. All right, so I think we'll move on to new business, and I know Brian is going to present the 2017 annual report. Ready?
I think I'm going to present the annual report. All right. Just going to go with that. Hi. How you doing this evening? Okay, so this is the 2017 annual report. You have to forgive me, I've never really done one of these before. Basically, it's just a broad overview of what occurred at the market last season. There'll be some financial information, kind of have a list of our events. So the market, or we don't always perform all these functions at the market. The market is kind of responsible and partakes with the CSA fair, which we partnered with the co-op and the Land Connection, the bike to market, chef demos, farmers market blood drive. All these things, they're part of the programming at the market that's designed to draw people in, kind of interact with the community, give people a chance to come out and see what's going on. We have some programming that we provide through the market. So Sprouts at the Market is our farm linkage program, which is in its 9th year now for children's ages like 6 to 8. And it gives them a chance to come to the market, explore things, make things, taste various fruits and vegetables, kind of get them out of their comfort zone. The chef demonstrations, those started in 2016. They are continuing. They're ongoing. Last year, I believe we had 5 of them. And again, that's designed to kind of encourage people to come to the market and utilize the ingredients that are at the market. Those chefs or the people doing demonstrations pull ingredients directly from the market, kind of get people interactive, demonstrate to them how to use things that are local and fresh and immediately available. Art at the Market, Rachel kind of addressed a lot of that. Programming already. Again, it's designed to kind of draw people into the market, kind of make the market a community hub for entertainment and socializing, as well as kind of educational practices, as well as food. Read at the Market, again, library comes out, provides free programming, and again, just another way to kind of connect the market to the community as a whole rather than have it stand as a lone thing. These are a couple of the outlets we use for advertising. So Smile Politely is an online web-based magazine that kind of provides a more hip and liberal view of things to a younger crowd. UPTV, the radio stations, Mix 94.5, we contract with them. They come out and do twice yearly, they do a broadcast from the market. WILL comes out, they bring some of their programming out to the market, and we have a co-sponsorship with them. So that's kind of a brief overview of the advertising. Social media, we had some reasonable growth in our social media. That is becoming a more and more important manner of kind of connecting with the community and kind of communicating what's going on at the market. So a bunch of our Twitter and our Instagram were up fairly, by a large degree. The Instagram account was fairly new in 2017, so this will be its third year. And then Facebook is still kind of growing along. It's doing a good thing. 2017 saw an estimated 117,000 visitors to the market, which was up from 104,000 in 2016. And clearly, so things are kind of on the rebound. Market participants. So in 2016, we had 45 growers. We were down 4 growers for 2017. We added some value-added food vendors. We gained an additional food truck, and arts and crafts vendors also increased, as did the community groups by a small margin. There's an exciting slide on the budget.
Can we kind of step through it?
What was that?
Can we just step through
Sure.
the kind of revenue, or you want me to?
I was going to.
You got, okay, go for it.
So, revenue total, you can see the total for the revenue there, and the revenue was drawn from a bunch of different sources, the primary one being vendor fees. We received a number of grants to support the SNAP program, and we, so the total for our revenue kind of did not meet our expenses for 2017. We were down by about $7,000. All right, there's a different view of that. Market staff is the largest part of the expenses for the market, followed closely by marketing, and then the SNAP programming. There we go. Market revenue. So in 2017, we had over $23,000 in combined SNAP benefits and SNAP double value support. So that includes, so that is a combination of what people get off their SNAP cards and what we match through those grants, and that was up $2,200 from the year in 2016. All right, thank you.
And just to be clear, the financial data that we have there is from the old system, so
Right.
we're hoping to be a lot, there's two main things that's going to let us do the new system. One is because a farmer's market season spans a fiscal year, it's a real mess that we have to go take 2 fiscal years worth of data and try to put it together, and we're spending money on the next market before the current market's done. So it's always been a real chore, and we actually have to manually go in and separate things to get truly accurate data. So in some ways, even those numbers are probably an estimate because there's crossover things that we make mistakes. The other thing it's going to allow us to do, so it'll allow us to separate by market year. So we'll always know what's being spent on one market year versus another. The other thing it's going to let us do is our grants for SNAP and for other programs, we can track those separately from the rest of the budget, and we'll be able to provide better reports to our grantors. So, you know, this report is still limited by our current financial system.
Can I ask one question? Is there a possibility of being able to see different graphs or curves of how things have changed in the past so many years. You're with the new system, let's say 5 years down the road.
Unfortunately, it won't help very much because while they imported back data from the old system uses, the fiscal years are still mixed together, and the line items are actually very inconsistent over time. They've changed so many times that even over 3 years, you can't draw a line between, the expenses might have moved between lines. And one reason that especially, I think it was in 16, 17, that a lot of line items changed in the old system is because we transitioned the market expenses so they're all coming from one place, and that place is its own fund. And why that's important is because the market has, it didn't currently make revenue in the last fiscal year. We don't expect it's going to make a lot of revenue this year. But if we start managing that situation actively, we anticipate that it will start to earn revenue. And that revenue will not go to the general fund. It will accumulate in the farmers market fund. And so we are going to have a conversation with the whole city about how we're able to spend that money because the municipality itself is going through some tough times and is looking at budget cuts. But hopefully we can come up with strategies where we can reinvest the revenues from the farmers market into the market itself, into growth in programs, investments in staff, investments in facilities, or even investments in partner programs that could include things like supporting farmers. So, it's not going to get easier to do retroactive, but from really this, I don't know if we're going to get it all this fiscal year, but at a point soon in the future, we're going to have great data moving forward, and we'll be able to create great longitudinal data over time.
Are there any other questions?
That's it. Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot.
Okay, if there are no other questions, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Of course. I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right, meeting adjourned. Oh, my gosh.
All right.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
And opposed? All right, meeting adjourned.